Hello there, my wrestling fans. It's me, Team RI, back with another video. I have another interview from another member from the YWC. Okay, my friend, introduce yourself.
Yeah, it's Tony here, and thanks for having me, Rara.
Anytime, dude. Okay, let's focus on the last segment on last night's Raw. Go ahead, my friend. Go for it.
Well, I thought the last night's segment on Raw was really put together good between Taker and Punk, using, once again, Punk's using Paul Bearer to his advantage to try to get Undertaker's mind, using mind games against Taker, 5 nights or 6 nights away from Mania, which I think is really good. The segment went well, having Paul Heyman dressed up as Paul Bearer, I think they did a good job there. He looked just like Paul Bearer, in my opinion, and with the Druids and all that, it kind of got boring though, because they had the Druid, they had that Druid song kind of going for a bit, but after a while it's sped up or whatever, and Paul Heyman showed up as dressed as Paul Bearer with the urn, and then Taker was just raging, and he was just beside himself. You could see the rage in his face, in his eyes. He was just so pissed off. He gets out of the ring, and then he goes and attacks one of the Druids. And because he thought that Druid was Punk, but he gets attacked from behind by one of the Druids that was Punk. And then from there, Punk gets the urn, starts beating Taker down with it. He opens up the urn, pours the so-called ashes, which is just sand and dirt, obviously, all over Taker and rubs it on himself. This is a good way to, finish off the last, last Monday Night Raw before Mania, with a bang, with this last segment between these two. Personally, out of the whole show, this is the only thing I kind of enjoyed out of the show. Also seeing HBK, but we're not talking about that. But, it was good, and I enjoyed it. So what was your thoughts, Rai?
I think they did a great damn job. I mean, unbelievable. Now, if Paul Bearer never died, what WWE's going to do? Do you think they're going to come with a different storyline? I don't know. We will never know. Now, speaking of Paul Bearer, I guess the son was okay with it. So what's your thoughts on that, Tony?
My thoughts on this is that, the son is basically what the son said was he was just saying how if he wanted to let the fans know that WWE came to the family with the idea and they agreed to it for the storyline last night, between Taker and Punk, and basically the son said it was he said from them talking about it and then seeing it on the screen was way different, and then he said he was okay with it, and that's good and all, and WWE wasn't just gonna come up with just go on it with their own and not ask permission, because they would get in a lot of trouble for that. So I'm glad he was okay. They let him go through with it, because this is kind of a good way to up the ante with this feud. So yeah.
Yeah. Now, what did the son say? Remember, I give you an article.
Oh yeah, the son said, and I quote, "If anyone is wondering, yes, WWE did come to us wanting approval for tonight's story and last night's storyline. The way it was presented to us was okay. Seeing it on the screen was a different story. I don't even know what to say." And then his other son, his other son, Daniel, said, and I quote, he said, "Totally different." And that was all he had to say about that.
Yeah, so what's your thoughts, wrestling fans? Now, for me, I think it's a great storyline in a long time. Now, I'm not too sure if Paul Heyman or CM Punk is going to use the urn in their advantage this Sunday, but we'll find out. The whole thing was very good, and of course I agree with you. The Druids, it went a little too long, but it's Road to WrestleMania. So what do you expect, wrestling fans? Now we are going to discuss about the mid-carders. I discussed this a couple of videos ago. I really think that we don't give a damn about the mid-carders. If they did, they have a better build-up, like maybe after Rumble, after Elimination Chamber, to build themselves the road to WrestleMania. But it's what it is. So what's your quick thoughts on this, what I just said about the mid-carders, Tony?
Well, the mid-card situation going on here, what WWE did this year basically is, what their matches last year was a little bit different. They kind of built them up, with good storylines, and they didn't just rush through it. This year, it kind of seems like they just the mid-card matches, which is Ryback, Ryback and Henry and Jericho and Fandango, and a couple of the other ones. What they did here was they decided to build these up like the 3 weeks away from Mania. You can't really do that. With Mania is not one of those pay-per-view. It's a pay-per-view that you're trying to build up a feud, for like a month or about a month or so, before the show even happens. What they did here is they kind of ruined it. Just having these matches, just throwing them on the card, it just seems like the writers didn't care. They were like, okay, here, we're gonna have these two guys against each other, so start the feud up 2 weeks before Mania. It just makes it really retarded, and hopefully the matches turn out to be good. But this year's Mania, I'm kind of leaning on a 50-50 here, whether it's gonna be good or not. So I hope, I'm surprised there's something big happens, which will change my mind on this whole perspective, but. We'll have to see, it is what it is, like we all say. So, back to you, Rabbi?
Yes, back to me. I totally agree. I wish they really focus on the mid-carders, because a lot of people want to just buy this period just for the main event, like The Rock and Cena 2 and Brock vs. Triple H, and of course, the big dead them all, The Undertaker, Undefeated Streak versus CM Punk. Now, I know that's all booked way in advance, and they really should focus on the mid-card, but it's what it is. Now, this is very weird, Tony. There's no Divas Championship on the line or United States Championship on the line. So what's your thoughts on that, Tony?
Well, I do see, I just don't see them not having these matches on the show. Maybe the U.S. title, Antonio Cesaro, they'll lay him off the show, which would make sense. He's the U.S. champion. This is supposed to be like the showcase of the Immortals, and all these young guys should, try to get a chance to be on the Mania card. But with the Divas title, I do see that making its way on the card. I think it'll either be on the pre-show. From what I read, they were supposed to originally turn Layla heel and have a match with Caitlyn for the Divas title Mania, but then they decided to have this AJ and Caitlyn feud. Here's what I think is going to happen is that on Mania, they're just, all of a sudden they're going to, after one of the matches is over, they're going to, the next match they're going to go to is going to be the Divas match. They're just going to show a highlight, of AJ beating Caitlyn and on Raw a couple weeks back, last week actually, and they're just going to show that, and then they'll be like, okay, that's how AJ's getting her Divas title match, and then they're going to throw that on there, and that'll be a match just made on Mania. So I think that'll happen, but otherwise, for the U.S. title, I don't know. I don't see it being defended. From what I read before, it was going to be defended in the pre-show between R-Truth and Antonio Cesaro, but they decided not to do that because they were going to do the IC title. But seeing it's going to be an hour pre-show, why don't they just put two title matches on there? What's the big deal?
Yeah.
It's an hour pre-show. So
now I prefer to see the Miz and Barrett on TV. On the actual show, but what is. I think that we dropped the ball, but whatever. But I'm not gonna see the pre-show. I will be heading to Hooters. I gotta get there early because it's is it like a 3-hour show or is it a 4-hour show for Mania this year?
4 hour.
Shit, I guess. So I think my time zone is like 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
So hopefully I don't forget. Anything you want to say before we end this interview?
Yeah. Basically, guys, WrestleMania, people living in Pacific, it's 4 o'clock, which is my time, 4 to 8, and then people that live where you're at, Robert, I believe, it starts at 6 and it's over at 9?
10.
Yeah. 10? Oh, 10? So, I'm looking forward to Mania. I'm kind of I'm split down the middle, but, we'll see what happens. I hope it's a good show. I'm looking forward to 3 matches in particular. I'm looking forward to Lesnar and Triple H, Taker and Punk, and surprisingly Del Rio and Swagger. So let's see how it's gonna be, guys. And from here, what would you like to say, Rabbi?
Yeah, one more thing before we end this interview. I am not a big fan of this whole Fandango. I think it's a terrible gimmick. And why in a blue moon he's getting his debut at Mania? Come on now, it should be like on Raw debut or SmackDown. Come on, WWE, he dropped the ball. I know he's a newcomer, but come on.
Because WWE's stupid.
Yeah, but that's all I'm gonna say. Now, if he surprises me at Mania, whatever. But my next video, you'll find out. But this Saturday, it will be my WrestleMania 29 predictions. So that's it for me. From the champ is out here, Team Rai Rai. You want to say anything else, Tony?
Pretty much, follow me on Twitter at triple TALEN double T, and that's pretty much it. So, see you later, guys.
Adios. Peace.